Have you ever noticed this? The deeper you dive into understanding, the fewer people you can talk to. And the more basic your words are, the more praise you seem to get. It's not just in conversation. Try building something, a research paper, a business, a creative project. The more original, the more thoughtful, the more you put into it, the colder the reaction. But strip it down, make it average, add cliches, remove all the depth, and suddenly, everyone loves it. That's the one that gets applause. That's the one that gets paid. In a world addicted to mediocrity, talent becomes a liability. And intelligence? A path straight into isolation. If you've felt this, it's not because you're crazy. It's because this is how society works. Society rewards mediocrity. It fears originality. It hates depth. And it punishes anything that stands out. Just look around. The most viral content, the most followed people, the most celebrated art, they all have one thing in common. They are safe, familiar, and average. That's not a bug. That's the system. Because the mass mind doesn't crave brilliance, it craves comfort. And comfort lives in the shallow end. They say intelligence is a gift. But in the real world, it often feels more like a curse. Schopenhauer said about it, "Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see." The deeper your thoughts, the fewer people can follow. The sharper your language, the more it cuts through the fog. And yet, paradoxically, the more it threatens those still trapped in it. Society doesn't reward brilliance. It tolerates it. Barely. Try this. Walk into a room and say something truly insightful, something that challenges the dominant narrative or exposes a contradiction in how people behave. Watch what happens. You'll see the glances, the awkward silences, the subtle distancing. You've just marked yourself as different. And to the average person, different equals danger. You might think intelligence attracts admiration. In school, maybe it did, on paper. But in the real world, intelligence triggers an instinctive social immune response. Just like a body rejecting a foreign object, society rejects minds that are too far beyond the norm. Why? Because intelligence is a mirror. It reflects people's own ignorance, their own stagnation. And nobody likes what they see when the reflection isn't flattering. People don't want to feel small. And when your intelligence makes them feel small, even unintentionally, they'll find ways to dismiss you, isolate you, or tear you down. Have you ever tried to talk deeply about a topic you're passionate about, only to watch eyes glaze over? Or worse, to hear someone say, "You think you're better than us?" That's not just defensiveness, that's tribal defense. The tribe protects itself from anything it sees as a threat to its norms, its comfort, its sameness. And here's the most brutal part. If you present yourself as intelligent, speak too precisely, reference obscure ideas, challenge the group, you're not seen as insightful. You're seen as arrogant, elitist, detached. This is why intelligent people often hide, or water themselves down, or play dumb just to survive socially. Because they've learned that society doesn't celebrate insight, it punishes it. And that punishment doesn't always look like censorship or public shame. Sometimes it looks like silence, like being left out, like being overlooked for a promotion or ghosted after a date. It's subtle but relentless. Even in work and business, the most nuanced, brilliant ideas often lose to the safest, most average versions. Because groupthink doesn't want to be disrupted. And markets don't want to be challenged. They want to be comfortable. So if you've ever felt like your intelligence is a burden, like your ideas isolate you, like your words make people uncomfortable, you're not imagining it. Society isn't broken. It's working exactly as it always has, favoring the familiar, rejecting the exceptional. But here's the kicker. In the next section, we'll explore the hidden power in this rejection and how you can turn your outsider status into your greatest advantage. Because once you understand the rules of the game, you can stop playing defense and start playing for power. Why smart people follow the right rules and lose. Here's a brutal truth most people never say out loud. If you are intelligent and act rationally, ethically, and logically in a world that doesn't reward those values, you're not being smart. You're being naive. Because society doesn't run on truth, fairness, or logic. It runs on perception, emotion, and conformity. And intelligent people often lose precisely because they act according to the right rules, while everyone else is playing a completely different game. Example 1. The job interview trap. You go into an interview fully prepared. Your answers are honest. You don't exaggerate your experience. You give thoughtful, detailed responses. You think being truthful and competent is enough. Meanwhile, another candidate shows up and confidently lies. Polished answers, exaggerated achievements, bold presence. No ethics, just performance. Guess who gets the job? In a world where image beats substance, the performer wins. This isn't just an exception, it's the norm. Example 2. The dating paradox. You treat her with respect. You open doors. You communicate your feelings. You show emotional maturity. But she texts back slower and slower until she ghosts you. Then you see her post a story with a walking red flag. The guy who doesn't text her back treats her like an option, gives her nothing but breadcrumbs. And it works. Why? Because many people don't chase what's good for them. They chase what stimulates them. And good guy behavior often doesn't create the highs and lows that trigger emotional addiction. So, by following the rules of healthy, rational communication, you get left behind. And what about social mechanics, where the majority rules? In every social system, school, work, dating, politics, most people act not based on logic, but on what feels right to them. But what feels right isn't always what is right. And since the majority operates this way, intelligent people end up in a strange position. They follow ethical and intellectual principles in a landscape shaped by illusion, shortcuts, and emotional bias. That's like playing chess while everyone else is playing poker. You're showing strategy. They're bluffing. I can say more. Logic can often be harmful. Imagine you're pitching a product to a mass audience. You spent months designing the best product on the market, objectively better, more features, higher quality. Then you launch, and no one cares. Why? Because your message is too complex. Your pitch is too technical. Your value is hidden behind a wall of facts. Meanwhile, your competitor offers an inferior product, but with simple messaging, bold branding, and emotional appeal. They explode. You go broke. This isn't about quality, it's about alignment. If you present yourself with nuance in a culture that rewards simplicity, you'll get drowned out. Nietzsche said it best. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. Truth without adaptation becomes self-sabotage. So what now? This doesn't mean you should abandon logic, but it means you have to know what game you're playing. When in a system that rewards illusion, you either adapt your strategy or you suffer for your principles. And in the next part, we'll dive into that exact dilemma. Is it better to suffer for your values or bend them just enough to survive? Because survival has its own morality. Stay tuned. Why intelligence leads to isolation. It starts small. You say something insightful in a conversation, expecting others to engage. Instead, they blink and move on. Or worse, they laugh it off. Not because it was funny, but because they didn't get it. And they hate feeling stupid. So they label you too deep, too serious, too intense. You learn quickly. If you want to be accepted, you better dumb it down. Shrink yourself to fit their comfort zones. This is where the isolation begins, not with rejection, but with avoidance. You stop sharing your thoughts. You become silent at parties. You nod at idiotic opinions just to keep the peace. And over time, you become invisible. Not because no one sees you, but because no one wants to see who you really are. It gets worse in dating. Imagine this. You're on a date. She asks you what you're passionate about. You start talking, not arrogantly, not condescendingly, just honestly, about something that fires you up. Psychology, metaphysics, systems theory. A few minutes in, her eyes glaze over. She checks her phone. "You're very smart," she says, and you know that's not a compliment. It's a red flag. And so, next time, you lie. You say you're into music, or working out, or just hanging with friends. You shrink, again. Because intelligence, real, layered, burning curiosity, it's not attractive to most people. It's threatening. Arthur Schopenhauer said about it, "He who thinks deeply knows that he is always alone." The world is built for average. The most successful content? Shallow. The most popular influencers? Safe, simple, repeatable. When you speak with nuance, when you ask uncomfortable questions, you don't just make people feel dumb, you make them feel exposed. And they will punish you for that. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern. So eventually, the intelligent either isolate themselves or get isolated by others. And in that isolation, many break. They call it depression. In reality, it's social starvation. But what if isolation could be used, not as a punishment, but as a weapon? What if this very rejection is a sign that you're on the right path? That's exactly what we'll uncover next. What about the shadow side? There's a point when intelligence becomes a curse. At first, the intelligent person seeks truth. They read, observe, analyze. They see through illusions. But over time, something shifts. They don't just see the flaws in society, they begin to despise them. A silent voice begins to whisper, "I'm surrounded by idiots." And once that seed is planted, bitterness grows like a weed. Every conversation becomes unbearable. Every interaction feels beneath them. They stop engaging. They stop listening. They isolate. It starts as protection, but ends as poison. Instead of mastering their mind, they begin worshiping it. Instead of using their intelligence to connect and uplift, they use it to judge and withdraw. What was once a gift becomes a wall, a fortress, a prison. You've seen this before. The guy who thinks he's smarter than everyone in the room and can't hide his disdain. The woman who rolls her eyes at anything remotely mainstream. The bitter intellectual posting cynical quotes online, hoping someone finally understands them. But no one does, because no one wants to. And this rejection only confirms the narrative. I'm different. I'm better. They're just too stupid to get it. This is not wisdom. This is spiritual decay. Nietzsche called this the pessimism of strength, when a man sees too clearly, too deeply, and finds no meaning. He withdraws not because he's truly strong, but because he can't bear the weight of truth anymore. He who despises himself still respects himself as one who despises. Nietzsche. This bitterness masquerades as superiority, but in truth, it's pain in disguise. A brilliant mind, corroded by isolation, screaming silently, "Why doesn't anyone see what I see?" Because most people don't want to see. They want comfort, not confrontation. They want validation, not truth. And if you can't offer that, they'll walk away. And eventually, so will you. Unless you break the pattern. Because in the next section, we'll reveal how to escape this spiral and turn intelligence into power, not poison. The game isn't fair, but intelligent people must learn to play it. If you still believe that saying the truth guarantees respect, Ask Giordano Bruno how that worked out. He told the truth. He was burned alive. Smart people often make a fatal mistake. They think the world runs on logic. It doesn't. It runs on emotion, power, fear, and manipulation. Society doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards performance. The person who knows how to talk, what to hide, and when to stay silent wins. That's the dirty truth. If you walk into a room and start dropping facts, most people won't admire you. They'll fear you, then resent you, then try to break you. Because facts don't move the average mind. Emotion does. Familiarity does. A sexy Instagram picture gets 100,000 likes. Your genius idea? 37 views. But here's the twist. A truly intelligent person doesn't fight this. They understand it and use it. For example, if your platform is Instagram, you can write your brilliant idea on the buttocks or breasts of a gorgeous model. You're not here to educate the masses. You're here to win. If ass pictures rule Instagram, monetize the ass. If stupidity dominates TikTok, package your message inside the stupidity. Don't shout truth into the void. Whisper it through a clown mask and watch the world eat it up. You don't need to be honest. You need to be effective. You don't need to be logical. You need to be strategic. You don't need to be consistent. You need to be unreadable. This world doesn't reward chess players. It rewards poker players. People who bluff, fold, smile, and know exactly when to go all in. Because in a world full of idiots, the intelligent man becomes king only when he stops trying to be understood and starts playing the game better than anyone else. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. That means you're starting to see the rules. In the comments, tell us, how old were you when you realized that intelligence is not a gift, but a burden that must be weaponized to survive? And remember, subscribe if you want more hard truths no one else will say out loud.